Welcome to the W Hotel in Chicago, Illinois, where tomorrow Major League Soccer will host their Super Draft. Tom Gelehrter thrilled to be alongside Alex Stec as the excitement building for tomorrow. FC Cincinnati now has 10 picks.
That's right.
10 picks, Alex, as they get ready for the draft. We're going to talk about all that here on our draft preview live show. Thrilled to be here. First things first, you were at the Combine, so you went from Orlando to Chicago. The weather was exactly the same.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
A little bit warmer, but you got a couple days in the sunshine.
That's right.
What was your takeaway from being down there with the technical staff and seeing what they were examining to get ready for tomorrow?
So it was my first Combine experience, but what was really exciting to see was how much these guys scouted. This technical staff really, really prepared. They did their homework. They came in with a list of guys that they wanted to see. They didn't, they considered everyone. They narrowed the list, but it was nice to be able to see these guys not only play scrimmages, but also small-sided games. That was a little bit different this year. They don't usually do that. So you got to see the speed of play change, and I think that's one of the biggest differences from the collegiate level to the professional level is how fast the game goes. So to be able to see these guys in smaller spaces, forcing them to play quicker, was a great takeaway for them. So it was great. They had interviews with them. They really did their homework, found out what these guys' personalities were like. It was a great time in Orlando.
Now, Alex, when you look at the Super Draft, the purpose of it is to bring collegiate players to Major League Soccer.
That's
tomorrow,
right.
1 p.m. Eastern time, noon local if you are here in Chicago, but 1 p.m. Eastern if you're back in Cincinnati. You'll be able to watch the Super Draft, and of course, FC Cincinnati has the #1 overall pick. You've been here. You've covered this event the last 3 years. What can fans expect?
Well, hopefully some of our fans are there, to be honest, because especially with the excitement of the expansion team and having that #1 draft pick, everyone starts cheering, everyone gets really excited. There's a lot of momentum that builds up to that. And when you see these kids' faces, when they go up to the podium and they're smiling, they're telling these heartwarming stories and their families are there supporting them, you can't help but be excited for them that this is a dream come true. This is the start of a new beginning for them. And it's exciting to see what FC Cincinnati is going to do.
All right, as I mentioned, Alex was in Orlando with the technical staff.
That's
right. Technical director Luke Sassano was there in the sunshine. Alex had a chance to sit down with Luke. Let's take a look at that interview.
Luke, you went through the Combine yourself. Having gone through that experience, how does it give you a different perspective watching now?
Well, I think you have to take going through the Combine as a unique perspective. Most of these guys finished playing probably over a month ago, so you have to definitely take that when you're watching them play. Most of these kids are coming off of strong college seasons, but at the same time, they've probably been doing a bunch of fitness, maybe small-sided games. So when they come out to 11v11, playing and kind of going through this exercise gives a better taste of what to expect from these guys on the field. So some of the players may have really good days, some may have really bad days, but it's important for us that we've done our homework and really to get to see and meet these kids up front is what we're looking for.
You talk about having a good day, having a bad day. How much weight do you put on these performances?
You kind of look at it from a full spectrum. I think there's some qualities you want to see out of certain players, when they're playing against some of the best guys in the country. So you want to see, can they stand out? How do they look on a field with some of the other guys that are more talented? But definitely if we've done our homework, which I know we have, that we'll be prepared really to see the certain type of qualities that we've been expecting from the guys.
If you're seeing a player play in a different position or if you're questioning his fitness, how easy is it to talk to the college coach around here and kind of get their insight?
It's very easy. They've been very accessible, and I think that's been important, having personal relationships with the Combine coaches just to see, hey, how's this kid been doing in the training session? Can we see him at a different position is very important because some kids, they may be a winger in college, but they're going to project to be an outside back. So it's important for us to not just see how they're doing right now, but kind of put them in a different place moving forward.
And as a technical director, what are you looking for as you continue to build the roster?
Yeah, we're looking to bring in certain players that fit the qualities of FC Cincinnati. Obviously you're finding younger players here. Certain spots in our roster we're going to need to fill moving forward. We're excited with the first pick. So we're looking at players that can come in and be a part of the long-term project of the club. So we're excited about it.
Thanks, Luke.
In Chicago, where we are now under 18 hours away from the Major League Soccer Super Draft tomorrow here in the Windy City. Now joined by Jeff Berding. Jeff, I know you've been in Orlando down there with Alex, and it's been an exciting day. Now in Chicago, you got to speak earlier today to Major League Soccer as part of the league meetings. What was your message in talking to the league today?
Well, I shared the history of FC Cincinnati, how we got to this point. gave a glimpse of what the exciting future with the training facility, our new stadium, and really just talked about how we're an embodiment of a rising Cincinnati, that we were really built by our supporters, that we're a club that's very connected to the community.
Well, you've been busy since you've been here, and in Orlando as well, because now I've run out of fingers, I think, to count your picks. You currently stand at 10. No more since you walked over here in the last few minutes,
Sure.
right? But obviously a different strategy as you guys have approached this draft.
It's a little unconventional. To be fair, signing a designated player as a USL team was unconventional. The players that we take tomorrow will be better than the best player in our academy, because we have no players in our academy. So it certainly gives us an enhanced opportunity to help the club as we continue to build and grow.
How do your final preparations change with those additional picks now?
It gives us more flexibility for sure, and the opportunity to really assess more players, to listen to more phone calls that come in. And so, again, to the extent that it's a projection, having more picks, in our opinion, gives us an enhanced opportunity to find some players that help us.
You had 19 seasons spent with the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, you were a part of many NFL drafts. How do you utilize that experience and your knowledge for this MLS SuperDraft, and what are the biggest differences?
Well, certainly there's some similarities. You're evaluating players' full body of work as it relates to their experience. You're certainly assessing character. You're assessing their physical makeup, and then you're projecting into the future. That's all very similar. Certainly the compressed timeline here. In the NFL, there's a combine, and several months later, there's a draft. Here, there's a combine, and a couple days later, there's a draft. But at the end of the day, it's about projecting players based on a full body of work and analysis into the future and how they may be able to help your club.
Talk about evaluating players. Alan Koch is very big on chemistry, the culture of his dressing room. As you've had an opportunity to sit down and talk to those players down in Orlando, what were you looking to learn about them to make sure they're a right fit for FC Cincinnati?
We certainly like players who have been winners, players who show a history of doing whatever it takes to win, who have a hardness about them, a desire. That's how we build our club. I think that speaks to what our city's about. And so it's certainly getting to know the players a little bit is a fun part of the process.
The fun part, what were the toughest or maybe the funniest questions that you asked when you were back in that room?
Oh, well, then I wouldn't be able to use them again, because then
Well,
the candidates
other people can
will
prepare.
know that those are some questions. But look, at the end of the day, you're just trying to get to know the players a little bit. There's no real secret to that. And it was a fun part of the process. There's a lot of really good guys here, and I think really, the focus is on them, that they've had a lifetime of hard work to get to this point, to earn themselves an opportunity to be drafted, to have an invitation to maybe have a professional career, and that should be celebrated with these players and their families tomorrow.
Jeff, this is a very big piece of the puzzle. We've seen it since May 29th. The expansion draft was 1 month ago. As you start to hear from the current guys, you've had a lot of signings over the last month. How much does the excitement continue to build towards that first team meeting when you're going to have that full Major League Soccer team in Cincinnati for the first time?
Oh, we certainly sense that that's out there. Some of the guys came back this week. I haven't been there, but I think there's some voluntary work going on. So I think people are hungry is the biggest thing. I think our players who have been with us are hungry. I think that our fans are hungry, and I know that we show up and work hard every day to, deliver on that.
Are you going to sleep much tonight?
No.
All right. Did I know the answer to that when I asked you?
Probably not too much.
All right.
So it'll be fun to get through the process, but we'll be back in Cincinnati on Saturday. I'll have been gone more than a week at that point, so I'm anxious to get home and see my wife and family, my kids, and on to the next project.
Fair enough. Well, this project's been a pretty big one. The draft again tomorrow. Major League Soccer SuperDraft, noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Alex and I are going to step aside, take a look back at the groundbreaking
That's it.
of
Thanks, Jeff.
FC Cincinnati's new stadium. And when we return, we'll be joined by Travis Clark from Top Drawer Soccer. In the meantime, here's a look back at the groundbreaking. West End Stadium. We'll ask that all of our VIP guests make their way out of the tent, and our young friends who have started the excavation process in the front will slide to the side and open up the entrance here for our groundbreaking. Our ceremony will start momentarily. Again, welcome to the West End Stadium.
And I want to have a special mention here to all the young people, all the students that are here. Dream big.
We hope that our West End Stadium becomes a new jewel in Queen City's crown.
And I said, there's something very, very special happening here in this city.
On behalf of the West End community, FC Cincinnati, welcome to the neighborhood. Looking forward to the adventure as we rise.
And now we are at the big moment we've all been waiting for.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tom Gelehrter back at the W Hotel in Chicago, Illinois, alongside Alex Stec, and now joined by Travis Clark from Top Drawer Soccer. The excitement continues to build towards noon Central tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern. Of course, you can watch the Major League Soccer SuperDraft tomorrow and see who FC Cincinnati takes with their, count them, 10 picks tomorrow. I haven't checked the history books. Do you remember a time that a club has had 10 SuperDraft picks?
I can't. I've been doing this about 10 years, and I can't remember a team with that many picks. I think it's exciting for the team and for the league because it gives a little bit more of a storyline to tell on the day of the draft. So it'll be exciting for the club, and I think the league can take something from it as well.
Your opinion of this year's draft class, what is the quality like here?
So I think it's pretty standard year to year these days. You know, you have the different mechanisms bringing players out, or kids just not going to play college, elite Americans and not playing college soccer. So I think there are players out there. It'll be interesting to see for a club like Cincinnati, do these players get a little bit more of an opportunity because you're building a team? Yes, you had the USL team last year, but maybe some of these picks later in the draft end up using that opportunity to develop, and maybe you hit a little bit more on the picks because you have so many of them. So it increases the odds for hitting and adding younger players to the roster for sure.
Looking at Cincinnati's current roster right now, what guys stand out to you, do you think, that could help this team, whether it's now or down the road?
In terms of Fernando Adi obviously stands out to me. He's a goal scorer. I followed Darren Maddox since his college days. I think he's a great backup striker, and I actually live in the D.C. area, so I saw a lot of him last year before Wayne Rooney came. And obviously you're not going to bench Wayne Rooney for Darren Maddox. So I think he has a lot more to add to the team, and I think he'll be a pleasant surprise going forward and score some goals. Maybe close in on double digits off the bench, because he did that to great effect for DC last season. So that is definitely a good sign for the team.
When you look at FC Cincinnati and what they may do, and obviously there's a lot of question marks there. We want you to lay out all 10 picks right now. How about that? How about that for a deal? But let's just look at maybe the first 10 to 15 picks. Obviously, FC Cincinnati has 3 in the top 16. Who are some of the names that have emerged over the last week that you've heard teams talk about, and you also think did well at the combine?
So you obviously have to start with a Generation Adidas class. That is the program where you're bringing underclassmen who aren't seniors into the draft. They're draft eligible. There's 7 of those, and that's, I think, where you got to start, especially when you talk about the top pick, and maybe even at that number 13 pick. It's year to year. It can vary, right? Sometimes, like last year in the 2018 draft, you had a couple of Generation Adidas picks in the second round. So if that plays out this year, maybe Cincinnati comes away with 3 GA players in the top 16. Obviously, it's drafts, it's speculation, so that's something you to consider. So you look at the GA players this year. You have Frankie Amaya, the UCLA midfielder with the U.S. Under-20 team. Syed Haji, the midfielder from VCU. Those are a lot of what I hear is it could come between them for the top pick, whether that's Cincinnati or not. Again, speculation is fun, right?
Yeah.
J.J. Williams, who folks close to Cincinnati may know of. He played at University of Kentucky last year, scored 18 goals. He's a big forward up front. I just threw 2 forwards out there, so maybe a little bit less likely for him to go that way. But he has a little bit of a local tie. That's something to sell to the fans, right? Come out and see this big striker you may have saw last fall. So I think if you're looking for attacking options, some players with upside, you start with a GA class, and then further on, you're probably going to get some 4-year seniors. Anderson Asiedu from UCLA, I think he's a guy that could be there in the teens for sure. He's a central midfielder, and again, maybe not ready right away, but I've heard good things from coaches. I think he can come in and bring something from the central midfield spot. So I could spout out names, keep going, but you know,
we can do this all night, right?
Yeah, exactly. I have 7,500 names.
Well, with 10 picks, we got all night to talk about it, right? But the Generation Adidas thing, because it's an important piece for FC Cincinnati. No academy right now, obviously, therefore, no homegrown products, no homegrown contracts. So what does it mean to a club, an expansion team like FC Cincinnati, to have the opportunity to get the added benefit of a GA player?
So with the Generation Adidas program, the player's salary doesn't count against the cap. So it's kind of a free player, right? So you have that, you add a player with upside who might come in, might be ready. You never know really with these college kids, right? So you add that roster flexibility where you maybe go out and add a more sure thing with with that flexibility the roster spot provides. So I think that is one reason why if FCC holds the pick, it's going to be a Generation Adidas player. It's just kind of a matter of, pick one of the 7 names out of the hat, and maybe that's what they go with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think is the biggest learning curve going from that collegiate level to then playing professionally?
So the biggest thing is obviously the season. The Division I college season, while officially the competitive months are from August to December, you start preseason in August, and a lot of teams, if you don't make the NCAA tournament, you don't go on a long run to the Final Four, your season could be over by early November, right? And yes, players do more than that. They don't just sit around and hang out. Their spring season, which is not competitive, but they play between 5 to 8 games. We usually line up, they're basically like scrimmages, friendlies. Most college soccer players will go play in the PDL, which is now, I believe, USL League 2. I might be wrong with that, sorry. Sorry, USL out there. And so, or the MPSL is another option too, but so they're not just hanging out. They're getting sharp. They're getting matches in. Some guys, 4-year seniors, are still getting 100 to 120 matches by the time they end up. So I think that physical demand. You hear the term rookie wall in a lot of sports, and I think that applies even more to MLS because you're looking at that steep, the grind. You're going up against bigger, stronger, faster players. So then there's a speed of play element too as well. So it's a lot of factors, and I think that's part of the reason why it's harder to project like a college draft and figuring out what players might be good and what might not work out at the next level.
FC Cincinnati's had success as a club in the USL, getting players from Wake Forest, from Louisville. What college programs have you seen create some of the better players in Major League Soccer?
Well, you just named 2 of them. Yeah. So Wake Forest, Louisville are obviously coming to mind. Wake Forest has Brad Dunwell as one of the seniors, as central midfielder. Should be maybe a 2nd or 3rd round pick. We'll see how that goes. But there's the classic clubs. You have Maryland, UCLA. They're losing a lot of players to the pros. Obviously, I mentioned Frankie Amaya from the Generation Adidas program. He was only a freshman, so he's leaving with 3 years of eligibility on the table. So those are Akron, obviously, in the state of Ohio is. I haven't crunched the numbers, but I think they've got to be in the top 5 in terms of pros produced. There was one draft I went to, I think it might have been in 2011, when they had sent 7 players into the draft and head up into the league. So those are the few programs that come to mind. Obviously, there are outliers. National champions Maryland. They're not an outlier, Sasha, don't worry. But they are also known for producing professionals. They actually have 4 seniors, one of the Generation Adidas class, goalkeeper Dane St. Clair. So, look for them, look for Maryland probably to have a couple of names called on Friday, whether it's Cincinnati or another team.
Very cool. Well, it's an exciting day, about 17 hours away. We have not gotten word that FC Cincinnati has acquired any more picks during our live show. We're not sure. Liz is on her phone, so you never know.
The night is young.
Something could be happening. We will wait and see. But 17 hours from now, FC Cincinnati has approximately 10 draft picks. So much more coverage to come here from Chicago. Travis, certainly appreciate your time joining us today.
Thank you, Travis.
Yep. It'll be fun tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. Looking forward to continuing our coverage tomorrow here from the Windy City. For Travis and Alex, it's been a blast. And
Thank you,
we
Tommy.
will see you. Thanks for tuning in.